All right, I'm back with another market update, and some things have happened. Russia attacked Ukraine, and inflation is going higher. So we're going to talk about these things. So first of all, we have inflation going higher, and you can actually see the inflation chart right here. It was pretty flat, and then we hit the pandemic, which caused a little bit of deflation, and then we saw. That's not what I want to draw. A rapid spike in inflation. So what is inflation? Inflation is basically the cost of goods going up. And inflation isn't just happening in every good, it happens in certain things, right? So like right here, we saw oil prices drop quite a bit, and now we see oil prices going up, and now they're really going up, right? Food prices weren't going up too much, but now they're starting to go up. So if we look down here, you see I got oil down here. So we got oil right here. We got wheat here. So some of the reasons why these are spiking right now with oil, I mean, Russia provides a lot of oil to the world. And so this Ukraine conflict is causing oil prices to go up. Actually, yesterday, the U.S. banned oil purchases. So we have not been getting enough oil to support ourselves. So we've been taking oil from Russia and Saudi Arabia. Some of these countries we probably don't need to be supporting necessarily. Well, maybe, it's not a terrible thing, but it's also puts us in a bind when Russia attacks Ukraine, right? Because now we get about 8 to 10% of our oil from Russia. And so these costs are gas costs are going to start going up. I mean, they've already been going up. It's been up it was going up 11 cents a day for a while. I don't know what the price is now, but it's near all-time highs for gas. And this is a problem because people, particularly people on the lower income spectrum who need to drive to work, different things like that, this really costs them lots of money when the cost of oil goes up. So we got some problems there with inflation. So probably about 4 weeks ago, I was imagining, let's grab a blue pen right here. I was imagining that inflation was going to start coming back down like this slowly, right? But now that we have oil prices really spiking, actually, let me show you the oil prices here. So right here, this is the oil chart. And as you can see, right, we get to February and then Russia invades and then all of a sudden, boom, it skyrockets. It went above 120 and now it's back down to 110. One of the things that happens is people get really hyped right here, and retail investors, which is like someone like me, not institutions, right? Just individuals investing. We saw like a huge amount of people, retail investors, rushing into this oil stock or, this commodity. Oh, this is crude actually. Where are we at? Crude, it all works. Oh, yeah, I was thinking Brent. Okay, so crude, there we go. So it spiked up and then it went back down. So usually when you see prices spike, you don't want to chase that price. Like for me, I didn't buy into oil. I missed it. So I just let it go, right? Price went way up. Some people made some money. If you bought way up top, you lost some money, right? So that's just a good rule. Don't be chasing investments like this. Another thing that we saw going up was wheat. Let's look for wheat right here. Wheat skyrocketed as well. And part of the reason is because Russia and Ukraine combined provide, I believe it's like 25% of the world's grain. I could be wrong on there, but again, we just see that skyrocket. And wheat is in lots of food products. We also saw corn do the same thing. So let's switch this back over here. So we also saw corn go up quite a bit too because Russia and Ukraine provide lots of corn. And sometimes you think, well, maybe you don't eat corn or you don't eat wheat. I mean, these things produce a lot of food, right? These even produce meat. So, and if you think about that, even oil helps produce these because oil helps us create fertilizer, and Russia's a huge exporter of fertilizer. And so you could think about it like we basically eat oil and cows eat wheat. Well, that sounds weird when I say it that way, but oil, going into tractors, transporting food around, right? So oil is going to cause these prices to maybe increase even more. And we feed this to cows and chickens and everything. So, chickens are basically just corn with wings. So meat prices might go up, and we've already been seeing that. And so all these things, we also have housing down here. So housing prices during the pandemic really shot up. And the reason for that, let's see, where am I at here? We're on housing. Yeah, here we go. Let's go housing. The reason for housing going up partially is because interest rates went down, right? These are interest rates. And so I kind of explained this in the last video, but when interest rates go down, it makes it easier or cheaper to borrow money, which means people can afford houses easier. And so when you do that, more people buy houses, which is good for some people, but sometimes it costs housing prices to go up, and then other people can't afford houses in the future. So we have that pressure, and the housing, the way the government measures housing is kind of strange. They don't just look at average rent prices, which I'm sure most of you are aware. Rent is going way up. They don't just look at that. What they do is they go to people who own houses and they ask, if you were going to rent your house out, how much would you rent it for? And in my opinion, that's not the best way to measure this, and it tends to lag. So we've seen housing prices go up, and so this pressure of housing prices is going to keep pushing us off into the future. So now this blue line is what I thought inflation was going to do. Now, if I had to guess what inflation is going to do, let's pick a new color. Let's go purple. So I think inflation's probably going to carry on. Oh, we can't see this. Let me recenter us here. So here, this purple here. So blue is what I thought inflation was going to start doing. But now I think inflation is going to carry on like this and then hopefully go down. Hopefully it doesn't. It might go like this and back down. So inflation is just really hard on people who don't make as much money, right? Because they need to buy food, they need to buy, pay rent, they need to get gas. And when those things go up, it really hurts their budget, right? We have some other pressures here as well. We have the supply chain. So we probably heard about this at this point. When you shut down factories for a while and people can't ship and people get COVID and they can't go to work, you have supply chain issues. And when you have these supply chain issues, it really messes up the market. Imagine you're building a car and you need like one little piece. Maybe you need a computer chip for your car and you can't build the rest of the car until you get that computer chip. Well, then that just causes a huge backlog. And now imagine you have maybe, I need a pen here. Now let's imagine you have maybe 20 different parts that you can't get, right? Well, now your vehicle is held up because you can't get these 20 parts. And who knows, maybe it's going to take you 2 months to get those. And they're just going to sit on the assembly line, which is taking up space. Where do you put them? You might need to lay off some workers until they get back on. So all this causes a whole bunch of problems. On top of this, we had a lot of money printing during the COVID pandemic. And, it's kind of hard to figure out what you should do because people couldn't go to work. You got to compensate them if you're not going to allow them to go to work. But what this does is this increases the amount of dollars in the environment, right? Or in the economy. So this increases the amount of dollars. And the more dollars running around chasing goods causes inflation to go up, right? Now, the U.S., because we are the dominant world currency, people tend to want our dollar during times of crises. So we can get away with printing a little bit extra because let's say we print $10 in the U.S., right? So maybe we just printed that and we would expect, you can't see what I'm drawing here. It doesn't really matter, just some dollar signs. But let's say we printed like $10 right here, right? And we would expect, we printed this money, costs are going to go up in the U.S. This is not necessarily how it works because what happens is other countries might buy dollars as well, right? Maybe you're in Europe and you're like, hey, the dollar looks pretty good. I think I'd rather hold dollars instead of euros, right? Or maybe you're in China and you want to hold dollars instead of the yuan. How do you say it? And so what happens is if we printed $10, maybe China takes $2 of those dollars. Maybe Europe takes $1 of those dollars. Maybe Africa takes $1 of those dollars. You get the idea. And then so instead of actually printing $10 into our economy, we only printed $6 into our economy. And so it hurts our economy a little bit less. So the current market is very volatile, right? If we switch back to here, let's go back to the home page of CNBC. Where's the page that I want? US. So this is the VIX. I talked about this a little bit last time. It's going higher. It's way higher. Basically what this means is that there's lots of volatility. So prices are going up and down. And so this is kind of a nerve-wracking environment to be investing in. So some tips for this is to just slowly invest. Don't put all your money in all at once, right? You just want a dollar cost average. Let me write that down. Dollar cost average. What this means is you only put in a little bit every single month. You only buy a little bit. And that way, you don't put $1,000 into the market at the peak of the economy. And then, if you would have done this in January, you would be down to $800 now. So instead, what you'd want to do is maybe you put in $100 every week. And instead, the market's going down. So maybe you still have $900. So hopefully in the future, that goes up to, who knows, $9,000. But that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. So I see some inflation going on, and I think it's going to continue, and that's going to put us in an interesting place. I see oil going up, so maybe you're not in a position to invest. What I did when I heard we were banning Russian oil is I went out and I filled up my gas tank, right? That's a nice, easy thing you can do. You could also stock up on food potentially. Like, you're not going to starve, I don't think, right? But I went out and I bought some canned food as well, just because I'm going to eat it. I buy canned beans, canned corn, different things like that, canned tomato sauce, right? And if housing prices are going up, or if food prices do go up and oil prices go up, which I think will lead to food prices going up, then I saved a little bit of money there. Just like maybe, how long ago was it? Like maybe 7-8 months ago, there was a big freeze in Colombia, and coffee. A bunch of the coffee crop froze. And so coffee prices, I wonder if I can search coffee over here. Coffee prices went up. And so what I did is coffee was on sale at a store. And so I bought like a year's supply of coffee. So then I don't need to worry about prices going up. Maybe about a year and a half. I bought a lot of coffee. Let's see here. I still have a bunch of it. Coffee. Is that the commodity? Let's try this one. Oh, you can't see what I'm looking at. Here we go. So coffee, yeah, so I bought a bunch of coffee around here, and as you can see, the price went way up. And this will be reflected in the grocery stores and Starbucks and other stuff later on. It's usually lagging, right? And so you're probably still good. You probably don't see a whole lot of prices going up. I mean, you do because inflation has been happening since 2021. But I think it might get worse before it gets better. So, all right. Well, I think that's enough for this video. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. And I will see you in the next one.